What's a camerahead? I was walking home through a nearby gully and came across a weird stack of rocks and a torn envelope with some writing on it. It appeared to have been written in charcoal or ash. It said, "I killed a camerahead." On the next line, it took Trevor, and the last line, "Get help if I don't come back." And there was a mini DV nearby. This was all that was on it besides static, though I had to watch it a few times before I found this clip. Who took this video? A camerahead sounds really silly if it's a monster with a camera for a head. On August 8, 2009, a creepypasta was posted to 4chan's X board, or their paranormal board. Its plot started as something creative, as it began with a user finding an envelope in a video cassette. The envelope details a writer's experience with a creature only known as a camerahead. It's been 12 years since that post, and the remainder of the story is lost to this day. Not only known for its obscurity and its absence, this story would attract more attention for inevitably creating one of the most mysterious and intriguing pieces of lost media. This is Cameraheads, the internet's lost creepypasta. 4chan's paranormal board is an interesting place. I've used it a couple of times myself to read some rather interesting threads. I'm unsure of how common creepypastas were on Xboard back in 2009, but I do know that the late 2000s were when creepypastas started to grow in popularity. The idea of a creepypasta being lost is interesting on its own, as the word creepypasta is a spin on the term copypasta. Summaries of the story exist online, and it detailed that the OP had found the envelope and cassette, and thus started to look into the existence of cameraheads themselves, and fell deep into a downward mental spiral. While much of the creepypasta itself is gone, the original post remains archived, and many detail its plot and existence. And while this paves the way for many recreations of the pasta itself, it is unknown if the original will ever surface. In the post, it mentions the video cassette and makes reference to footage that was apparently on it. The same day of the 4chan thread, a video just titled Camerahead was uploaded to YouTube by user Kodiakov. The video was mostly static, with some footage of someone walking around the forest chasing people. The description for the video reads, "Weird video I captured from a mini DV I found in a gully near my house." If the name of the video didn't sell to you, the description probably has. This video is tied to the Camerahead pasta. It isn't uncommon for creepypastas to have accompanying videos. Take things like Suicide Mouse at AVI, a pasta that has a video mirroring the story. It's a pretty neat thing, and it really gives a feeling of reality to the story. The channel only has this single video and no channel description. Even more interesting, the channel was made on August 3rd, 2006, a whole 3 years before the Cameraheads pasta. While it's safe to assume that the person who posted this video is the OP of the Cameraheads post, there is no form of contact on their YouTube channel, so tracking them down isn't exactly an option here. It's also safe to assume that this channel is abandoned, as there aren't any replies to any of the comments, including ones that ask about the whereabouts of this creepypasta, so OP is sort of out of the picture. Many things that have been posted to 4chan aren't archived, thus the disappearance of this piece. It would be a complete chance that this piece surfaces in the future from any past thread archives. A good example of this would be the original post for SCP-173, the first SCP post ever, originally posted on 4chan. While it was lost for a while, the original thread was found to have been archived, but completely out of chance. So while it would be a possibility of an archived thread posting this piece, it is a very slim possibility. Another avenue to look down is the chance that it was posted on another website. There are various creepypasta websites across the web, some more obscure than others, and it wouldn't be out of place for someone to post this story somewhere else. I mean, it is considered a copypasta, so I'd imagine someone posted it somewhere else. So, without further ado, let's dive into the disappearance of Cameraheads. In 2009, 4chan's paranormal board created their own wiki called the Xenopedia. There was even a separate image board from X called X Sanctuary. While many users of X were using the Xenopedia for their own purposes to escape trolling on the actual 4chan board, it wasn't inept from the same ridicule of the original X board. By that same token, like a lot of group internet endeavors, it started to die off and became less active. From what was said, the site eventually had a bunch of content deleted from it by the admins, and among which were creepypastas. As time passed, the site originally started to die off, drama occurred between users, and finally, people started to return to the original 4chan board. The last activity was in November of 2010. xenopedia had died. This information comes from a post on the subreddit r/hobbydrama in which the OP details the information regarding the rise and fall of xenopedia. I chose to specifically talk about this because of the post mentioning the removal of creepypastas. That means that there were at least some on the website, thus the possibility of cameraheads being present on the wiki. After doing some research, there was a claim that cameraheads was actually confirmed to be on the wiki, and the claim coming from the camerahead page on the Super Epic Failpedia fandom site. The page Camerahead was once present on the no longer extant Xboard wiki Xenopedia in categories bullshit, indicating oversaturation, videos, indicating the presence of a video in the article, and stub, indicating the brevity of the article at the time. Those category pages were saved only once each, on 19 August 2009. So, we know it was there. However, there were only pages saved once, on August 19th, 2009. That would be 11 days after the pasta was written and the video uploaded to YouTube. I took a look at the archived page for bullshit category and found that the category had 8 listed articles. The 2012 Doomsday Prediction, a page titled Camerahead, Candlejack, Nibiru Collision, Satan Sphinx, Slenderman, The Grifter, and Zalgo. The category was defined as the cancer that is killing X. That definition alone will become important later on. It's hard to find any archives of the paranormal board before the year of 2014. It was around this time, however, that people started to notice that this story is relatively lost. More attention fell upon this pasta again after people realized that there were no archives whatsoever of the story. When discussing the existence of the Cameraheads pasta on Xenopedia, it's important to discuss its classification in the bullshit category. This category was founded for posts that would be excessive and clearly annoying, inevitably leading to their discussions being classified as cancer killing X, as mean as it sounds. The fact that it was roped in here with Slenderman is something interesting as well, as that pasta is known everywhere and didn't fall into obscurity as much as this one has. So, no archives from X's very own wiki exist of the Cameraheads pasta. Good to know, and if any actually do, they're not publicly known. Considering the pasta came from a time before archiving Xboard was a common thing, I wouldn't imagine that the original Xboard on 4chan has any archive of its existence, or once again, they're not publicly known. So, where do we go from here? Before we get started in this section, I think it should be made clear that anyone mentioned in this section should not be contacted regarding this creepypasta. While I may mention people and websites, you should not go out of your way to contact anyone mentioned. Because of this, first names will not be mentioned, and websites with little results or ones that come up inconclusive will not be mentioned. Please do not contact anyone. Let's talk about OP. 4chan is an anonymous website. There's no usernames or accounts, so it's not exactly easy to find an OP of the post. However, we have one thing to fall back on, and that is the YouTube video. YouTube user Kodiakov. It's an interesting name, not like someone's first and last name, but a username that someone typed out. Either that or they keyboard smashed it, I don't know. So, let's try to find our OP online. While the video was uploaded in 2009, the channel itself was created in 2006. So I took this a step further. I decided to look into which websites were popular in 2006. If this person was using that name at that time, maybe we could uncover something about their user activity and their digital footprint. While Facebook would be a little bit off considering how many people shared the last name of Kodiakov, I thought I'd look at another popular social media site from the early 2000s, that being MySpace. Nothing. Twitter? Nothing again. Newgrounds maybe? Nothing. It's strange because there is literally nothing. Any sort of search yields random Russian results which undoubtedly have nothing to do with this. So, what is even up with this? It seems like this user was made specifically for YouTube, which begs the question, was their account made for Cameraheads? I'd say not because of the time gap between the channel's creation and the upload of the video. OP is being very elusive here. So, how do we identify this person? Well, when I first dove into this section, I had hoped that there would be at least some form of social media. I was nonetheless surprised when I found that Kodiakov just wasn't online. Then I remembered something. There is a very, very small feature to recognize people on 4chan, albeit not an account. that being a string of numbers that accompany their post. While this can't get us any information about the OP, it will provide something to a theory that I will be talking about later on in this post. So while OP cannot be identified, we can link them to their original 4chan post in the Kodiakov YouTube channel. Something I mentioned earlier was the chance of the pasta existing on a creepypasta website. It's a bit of a specific case, but I'll be broadening that up. I'm going to be taking a look at old creepypasta websites that came up during the late 2000s. This includes wikis, fandoms, subreddits, and even Tumblr blogs. And before you ask why Tumblr blogs, a lot of people had a creepypasta phase, and chances are if you were confident enough, you would have shared that phase with the world. It's lovely, isn't it? Obviously, the first place you would look is on creepypasta.com, first established in 2008, a year before the Cameraheads pasta was even posted. Unsurprisingly, tracking down a lost creepypasta from over a decade ago wasn't that easy. It honestly looks like none of the surface-level creepypasta websites have featured it, which comes into play later with a theory of mine. Searching wikis and fandoms brings up nothing. It seems that whatever role that this played, it was never carried over to any sites that were made specifically for creepypastas. Strange, right? Jumping far back into the Google searches for creepypasta websites didn't lead me to anything obscure outside of a few shady links, of course. So my next course of action was to take to Reddit. Reddit was originally created in 2006, so we have at least a close timeline for Cameraheads to fit into. During my scavenger hunt on Reddit, I found that no subreddits had anything talking about the Cameraheads pasta outside of posts asking of its whereabouts. While it looks like the story of the disappearance of Cameraheads has reached out to horror communities, it also looks like the actual Cameraheads pasta itself has not. So why wasn't it spread around, especially considering that it was categorized for oversaturation on Xenopedia? Time to take a look at old creepypasta blogs, and yes, that includes Tumblr. But that search on Tumblr wasn't very conclusive. It had just as much content as Reddit had, much to my surprise. I honestly thought that there'd be more on here. So, without Cameraheads having some sort of internet presence, where do we go from here? So, where are we now? It's modern day, it's been over a decade, and still nothing? Has anything really changed? Well, you're probably wondering why we went over the possibilities and avenues that came up inconclusive, if, well, they came up inconclusive. Well, it's because we didn't know those from the very beginning. In fact, it wasn't until last year that the Camerahead YouTube video was even found. I thought I would present the information ahead before diving into what's being done today and what progress has been made. The original YouTube video wasn't found until August 16, 2020, and it came from the place it started, 4chan. A thread had featured discussions of pieces of lost media, among which the Cameraheads pasta was mentioned and the video was linked. People connected the video by the upload date in the description of the video. Since then, the comments have been flooded with people desperately inquiring about the Camerahead pasta. However, as mentioned earlier, the Kodiakov channel has been abandoned. Then, on October 19, 2020, an archive of recent changes to Xenopedia was discovered on archive.is by Lost Media Wiki user Marnin005. Through these archives, an RSS feed of edits for the page was found, and thus the original transcript of the first Cameraheads post was also found. Yet, something interesting was discovered. The archived page had shown the original post and YouTube video were all that was featured on the page on Xenopedia. After that, the OP never followed up. This would now clash with the ideas and memories people had of the story continuing outside of the first post. Since then, nothing more of the story has been found, and you're pretty much caught up with modern day. So, where do we go from here? Well, throughout this video, I've subtly mentioned information which I think contributes a big role to the story of the Cameraheads legend. And that leads us to theories and speculation. So, what happened to Cameraheads? In my mind, it simply disappeared from the internet. That is, if the whole pasta is gone. From the beginning of the search, I've been skeptical as to why Cameraheads is considered lost, especially when we consider the RSS edit feed. With the feed claiming that there were no edits outside the original posted video, it makes you wonder if there was even a creepypasta to begin with. And furthermore, did the OP even follow up to this? So, it's time we provide theories to the questions that were created within this video. Number 1. Who was Kodiakov? Clearly the OP of the story, however, they shared no platforms outside of YouTube. It's most likely that Kodiakov means nothing at all, and it's just a one-off name this person used for creating their YouTube account. It's fair that we couldn't find anything about them, as a lot of people use different usernames across different platforms. Now, regarding the mystery of OP, we need to discuss a major hole in this legend: the RSS edits. These changed everything I thought I knew about this legend. It was a few hours after the original post that OP had followed up with the video. After that, nothing followed. Is it really possible that Cameraheads wasn't even a full pasta? I think it's possible. What if people were just using the original post and the video link as the whole pasta? There's not a lot to copy and paste, thus leading to less effort having to post it everywhere. This could easily explain why it fell into a category of oversaturation. So, where do all these claims come from of memories of this story continuing? I have a theory, but it really can't be proven or disproven without the original thread. My theory is that various replies made up the story. When OP didn't deliver, the other users of X did. They all made a story and compiled it into one. That became what was known as the Cameraheads pasta. The support to this that contradicts the RSS edits is that this was only an archived link, and that other edits to the Cameraheads page could have been made. However, the last theory of mine is that there really is a lost creepypasta, a full one, that it just had poor archival leading to his disappearance. A dull theory for sure, but it's the most upfront theory when confronting a lot of missing media. However, I'll let you decide what you think. Remember each avenue we tackled, each piece of conflicting evidence, and remember everything that went into this pasta. Anonymity, untraceable names, lack of archival, RSS edits, there are a lot of essential pieces to the puzzle of Cameraheads. However, like all puzzles, some pieces look like they fit where they actually don't. So, don't be afraid to double check. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and with that said, have a great day. Peace.